So, in this video I'm going to try and teach you the skills of ordering money. Now, in order to do this, we need to know what each digit means, what each digit represents, or what it's worth. We need to know how we can use that information to order amounts and compare amounts. We need to then be able to think, can we then go to the next step and be able to find amounts of money in between two values? We need to understand the term ascending and we need to understand the term descending. So here I have a place value chart and I've just amended it slightly so that we've got the pounds, which you can clearly see in the 10p's and the 1p's. So let's just go through the place value chart quite quickly. You will know them very, very well by now. So if we start on the left hand side, we've got the highest value possible here, which is the hundreds. That's worth the most here. We've then got the tens, so we'll have our £10 notes and our £5 notes if you've got more than one of them to add up there. We've then got the ones, which are our £1 and £2, all the way up to £9. We've then got the decimal point, which is the point which shows the difference between whole numbers and parts of numbers. After the decimal point, we've then got tenths. Now it's called tenths because here we've got parts of a number where the one whole has been split up. And 10 tenths make one whole, which is why it's called a tenth, because we're taking one whole and we're splitting it into 10 parts. So that's why it's called tenths. And then we've got hundredths, which is in this case with money, it's our 1p, and it's called hundredths because £1 has been split into 100 parts, and each penny represents one of those hundredths there. So the hundredth is the smallest value here, and the hundreds is the highest value on this chart. It does go further up after hundreds as well. Right, so let's have a look at slide 3 where I've got two amounts of money in this slide. I've got an amount at the top and then I've got an amount at the bottom. Now, you might automatically think the top one has got the most amount of money because there are lots of 9 digits. Let's have a look at it closer. Let's start with the hundredths. The top amount has got 9 hundredths, that's 9p. The bottom amount has got 0. Looking at the tenths is the same thing. It's got 9 tenths, which represents 90p, and no tenths here. So far we've got 99p at the top. The pounds are the same. We've got £9 and £0. And on the tens, we've got 9 tens, which represents £90 and 0 here. But this is the crucial part of this comparison. We've got 3 hundreds here, and we've got 4 here. So the 300s is worth less than the 400s. Now, the key thing is, because the hundreds pound, the hundreds column, is worth most in this place value chart, then if we're looking at which value is greater or which value is less, then the hundreds column is the most important column to look at here. Because in this case, it doesn't matter that the 300 has got £99 and 99 pence and the 400 hasn't, because it's still worth less than the £400 because it hasn't got as many hundreds, because the hundreds are worth the most. So this question will come up quite a lot when you're looking at the place value of money. They will always put the 9s in to try and trick you with the 0s because they think that if you don't have an understanding of this, then you'll automatically think the one with the 9s in is the bigger number. However, because the hundreds column is worth the most, and because that 3 is less than the 4, then the £399.99 is worth less than £400. So don't get tricked out there. Next slide, we've got two numbers here that look very, very similar. Now, I've just told you the most important column is the hundreds column. However, here, the hundreds column is exactly the same. They've both got a 1 in that column. So, if you're comparing numbers and trying to find out which one's greater and which one is less, you need to then move on to the next column. So the tens column now becomes the most important column because the hundreds are the same. However, they are also exactly the same. So we go to the ones column, and they are also exactly the same here. So we go to the tenths column. Now the top number has got one 10p there, and the bottom number has got no 10p there, which means the top number is the greatest value here. That would give you the most money. And they've both got the same hundreds here. Now, a question might try and trick you by doing something like this, where now, actually it would do this. So now the hundreds, the tens and the ones are exactly the same again. The tenths are different between the two numbers, and we know the top number has the most tenths, so it's the most valuable. However, they might put the 9 here in the hundredths just to try and trick you, to make you think because it's got a 9 it must be worth more. It's not always the case. It depends what column that 9 is in. 9p is worth less than 10p, which is what this 1 represents here. So this 1 is worth 1/10, which is value is 10p. This 9 is worth 9/100ths, which value of 9p. So they're different, and the 1 is worth more than the 9. So let's have a look at putting some values in between two values. Here I've got a number line, and it starts at £4.72. So we start with £4.72, and at the other end we've got 496p. Now, I've purposely used pounds and pence here just to show you how some questions might try and trick you. They might include pounds and pence to confuse you, to see if you have an understanding of what these pence represent in pounds. So you can, I highly recommend, the first thing you do when you see a question like this is to convert 496 pence into pounds straight away. So I know the 400 pence is worth £4 and 96p. So it would be £4 and 96p. Now, having them both in the same format just makes it easier for me to understand what I need to do here. Now I'm going to place some numbers in between these two values. Now, this always surprises me how it tricks people. So my value I put here has to be above £4.72 but below £4.96 because it's got to fit in between them. Anything above £4.96 would go over here. Anything below £4.72 would go over here. So it's got to be in between. So I could go for the simple option, and I could go just 1p more. I'd go £4.73. Let's find some other digits, values to go in here. I could go £4.80 because it's not yet £4.96. I could go one less than this one, and I could say £4.95 could go into there. Let's move it along a little bit. Brilliant. And then what value would we think goes in between £4.80 and £4.95? There's a 15 difference between them, so I'm going to say I think around £4.88 there. Oh, that's not a pound. That's a pound. £4.88 there. I would look at this one. I think that one needs to go a bit further over there, like that. Now you'll notice I didn't put the £4.88 really close to the £4.80 because I needed to leave some room for £4.81, £4.82, £4.83, etc. I put it in the middle and tried to guess where it would go on this number line. Okay, so that was placing digits in between the two values at either side. Now let's have a look at the word ascending. Ascending order is putting things from the smallest to the largest. And here are two situations you might find the word ascending. If someone is climbing up a mountain, you might say that they are ascending to the top of the mountain. That means that they're climbing up the mountain. That's kind of like putting things from the smallest to the largest. They're climbing to the largest point in the mountain. And then quite often people refer to ascending to heaven as a religious thing, as a religious subject as well. So they say if you're going to heaven, you're ascending to heaven because you're going up into heaven, as shown with this diagram here, this picture here. And that brings us on to descending, which is the opposite. Descending order is putting things from the largest to the smallest. So I think of it as going into an elevator, going down from the highest floor to the lowest floor, or walking down some stairs, descending the stairs, going from upstairs to downstairs, down those steps. So it's all about going from largest to the smallest.